We definitely had some discussion about whether to keep Sarah on the card in light of everything that was going on. You know, we shouldn't really punish the daughter for the sins of the father. We did put some stipulations down. We are not going to mention Atos, and we also did not want Andre or Angelica to be at the event.
Polaris 36 preview.
36.
Wow, there's so many Polaris events, man. 36 events, 10 years later. But March 7th, this weekend, there's the return to the super fight format. And we've talked a little bit about it on previous episodes, but let's dive into some of the matches and break it down, because this is a fun card. You've put together going back to the old school Polaris, like stacked super fight show, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, 36, nearly middle-aged Polaris. And it's in Fairfield Halls, which is a really, really cool venue, like a historic music venue in outer London. But Croydon itself is not the most fantastic area. Did you come before? No, you haven't come to a Croydon show. Oh, but this is your first time, yeah?
In the Croydon, yeah.
In Croydon. So, yeah, it's like hotel, navigate the local denizens, and then get to the venue. And yeah, actually, there's a really cool place to eat and drink called Box Park. We'll be going there. So,
okay, yeah, I've heard about Box Park. I want to check that out.
Really, really good food. Yeah, Polaris 36. Shall we go through the card?
Yeah, I think we should do top down, because the first thing I wanted to talk about was this. You ran the title eliminator, right? So Ethan was the lightweight champion, and you ran this really cool eliminator, the Polaris PSG tournament last month, to determine his opponent. And this guy who I had never heard of, Shai Gerena, who I believe is Belgian. Am I correct in saying that?
Or is he Dutch?
Okay, from somewhere in the lower part of Europe, then the lowlands. But Mr. Gerena came through and shredded a bunch of people's legs to win that in pretty quick fashion. So I don't know anything about this guy. He's not on my radar whatsoever. Did you have any idea who he was going into that eliminator?
Well, our savant who does the matchmaking had him at number 1 seed. So some people knew, yeah. If you knew, you knew. I think that's where. Yeah, it's somewhere in the mainland of Europe for sure. Apparently, he had quite a trek to get over here. I think he came by train, or I think he came on his own. Just sat there in between matches quietly. Came on, killed someone, sat down, came on again, killed someone else. So yeah. It's definitely an underdog for Ethan, who's very well established and well known.
I was looking at this guy's performance, his run through the bracket. I was looking at the smooth comp bracket, and every match was like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Like I think in total across 5 or 6 matches, he was on the mat for like a total of about 6 minutes. It was absolutely ridiculous.
Crazy. Yeah. It's quite often like that with people that are really fucking good at leg locks, though, isn't it? It's part of the reason that Sakuraba banned them from the first few quintets, right? Because imagine if you paid a load of money to watch it and it was done in 10 minutes.
So this Shai Gerena kid, I like I said, really don't know too much about him, but huge opportunity in facing off somebody like Ethan, and it's going to be the main event of the Polaris. So you have to think that if he can do the sort of the massive task about taking out the veteran Ethan, if you can take him out, that immediately puts you on like the world stage, right?
Yeah, big time. And fair play to Ethan for accepting that challenge as well. Lots of well-known guys and girls will not take that type of match for sure. It's just it's very high risk for them. So I imagine Ethan is very confident. So it should make it for a really good dynamic and a really fun last match on the card. And then the other thing is because nowadays I kind of sit in the crowd and watch what's going on the shows, and I can notice if the main event is like an American versus an American, or two people from very far away competing on our stage, occasionally the crowd can lose a little bit of interest. But when there's someone who is a bit more local, or they've got somebody to kind of root for, it maintains their interest right till the end. So I feel like if we if we explain it all properly, or if we have explained it all properly, then people will be invested in seeing how this guy does. So it should maintain the live interest all the way through to the end.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, Ethan is amazing, right? He's always been one of my favorite lightweight grapplers to watch, just because he's so dynamic. You know, he's a finisher. He's just got this really unpredictable style. He's incredibly physical for a lightweight grappler as well. He just smashes the shit out of people generally, but obviously super technical at the same time. I kind of feel like it is interesting that you mentioned that he would even accept something like this, because so many high-level grapplers, you know, they're so protective of their brand, so protective of their records that you know, they wouldn't even risk it by going against somebody who doesn't have a big name, because if you lose to that guy, it does massive harm to your standing, right? And I think that taking on a match like that is like, well, I don't know who my opponent's going to be until like 3 weeks before the event. You know, it's not like I can train specifically for him. It's not like I can, you know, game plan for somebody who I can go off and, you know, study. Nope, that's just not the case with this one. He's just going to have to go out there and send it.
Yes, which is normally what Ethan does.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. I'm definitely excited to see that one. And then the rest of the Superfight card is pretty stacked. We'll just go down through it quickly. Kendall Rusing versus Anabel Lopez Beard. So Anabel came off just winning the ADCC trials in Serbia just a couple of weeks ago. And she's already a black belt no-gi world champion. Really, 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 really promising talent coming out of Europe. She's half Spanish, half Dominican Republican, but has been living in the UK for years and years and years. Like, first time I met her, I was fully convinced that she was a London girl, because she was pretty much raised there. But
she sounds like she's from London.
She does. But Kendall's coming back, and this is Kendall's first match in, like, I think over a year. Is it even more than that, possibly? Like,
feels like longer to me.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So she's coming back. And I feel like this is one of the best matches that you could make for Kendall, because obviously as a heavyweight woman, the talent pool isn't quite as deep, and you know, she's already faced off with the majority of people out there. It's hard to make a new captivating match between the heavyweight women, but you've got two great talents there in Kendall and Anabel. This is a really intriguing match for me.
Yeah, really good. And then while Kendall hasn't been competing, she's been sort of growing her profile offline, right, with all the presenting and commentating and stuff. So she's like a key figure in the jiu-jitsu industry. So I feel like people are always keen to see those type of people compete. Yeah. I actually can't pick a winner, because Kendall's very physical, and, you know, on paper, does she have more titles? I'm not sure. But Anabel's like very current, and she's winning everything right now. So, although she's going to be a little bit smaller, I assume. So that,
I don't think there's much in it.
No?
I don't think there's much. Kendall is, you know, she's obviously one of the heavier women competing in that division. But I saw that Anabel weighed in at 85 kilos for the recent ADCC trials. So she is not small. You know, she's tall. She's, you know, she's well built. I think you're right that Kendall has the Kendall has the reputation as being the more physical, and she definitely has that wrestling background as well. But in what you said about titles, I want to say that both of them are black belt no-gi world champions. Both of them are ADCC trials winners. Kendall definitely has more experience in super fights, but there's like a generational gap between them, because Kendall is, you know, I think around 28, and Anabel's 21, something like that. So that's an intriguing storyline there. One
interesting thing. So we, you know, Polaris are always kind of evolving the rules as we go along. One rule we put in was if the stand-up, if there's a stalemate when standing, we will start the athletes in combat base. And the first time it was ever implemented was one of Kendall's matches, where it was a little bit of a stalemate on the feet. So we said, right, we're going to do this thing. We put them both down on one knee into combat base, and then started the match again. And instantly the other person stood up, and Kendall, I believe, like ankle picked her, and it completely changed the match. So it was a interesting kind of, she was the first person to benefit from that change in the rules.
That is interesting. I wasn't aware of that, actually. That's cool, because, man, how many no-gi super fights have you seen that have just turned into pushing and shoving stall fests on the feet where
way too many
guys aren't even risking a takedown. It's bad sometimes. So.
Yeah, way too many. It was one of the worst things about ADCC has the potential to go that way in some of its matches, especially when they're like finals or extremely long matches and no one's willing to really open up. Then yeah, you get loads of stalling on the feet. So we put that in specifically for that. And for the athlete, I'm sure like the whole match goes in 10 seconds. So they're just waiting for their opening. They're trying to be not take any unnecessary risk. But if you're a super fight show and people are watching it and they want to be entertained, people will be asking for refunds if they have to sit there and watch 10 minutes of collar ties.
Yeah, the worst offender I can ever think of in terms of a super fight that went that way was Who's Number One a few years ago when Wagner Hoscher met Josh Hinger. And they literally did 15 minutes without going to the ground once. And even worse, neither of them attempted a single takedown. It was grueling to try and commentate that match. And it was horrific to try and watch. But you had two guys who Wagner's got that sick Kimura trap, so Josh wasn't ready to shoot in on him. And then Josh has got that guillotine, so Wagner wasn't ready to shoot in on him. And it just turned into 15 minutes of mercy. It was so tough to watch. Yeah. But it's interesting you've got that rule. I did, and it was awful.
It must have been awful, yeah.
It was tough. But interesting about that rule, because the first person or the first event that I can ever think of to do a rule like that was EBI. And they had something called the get down rule. And right. I can't remember exactly how it was applied because you put both guys in combat base. So like one knee down, one knee up. But I can't remember if EBI possibly had literally just put one guy on bottom and then the other guy start passing. I think they chose one, or maybe a coin toss, or I don't remember. But
I do remember the get down rule. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan. If nothing's happening on the feet, make them go to the ground. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah, I mean that WNO match is a perfect example. 15 minutes. I bet every person in there was squirming. And you must be thinking to yourself, like, why? Why are we doing this? Why are we allowing this to happen? So yeah. We realize that we have the power to change it. So we're like, well, we're not going to let that happen anymore.
It was tough. Exciting to see. Kendall versus Anabel is a really intriguing match for me. I'm a big fan of both. Obviously, big friend of Kendall. Yeah. I've known her for years. And have worked with her many, many times on broadcasts and doing media stuff. But I'm really big fan of Anabel as well. I think she's a rising star, and I think this is going to be a great match. So it's gonna hurt. Somebody's gonna have to win and lose, but I'm really excited to see this one and see how it plays out. But then we're talking about like the get down rule and about the antidote to wrestling. I think there's one match that we can both agree we're unlikely to see any wrestling at all is Owen Jones versus Gianni Grippo.
Yeah. There could be wrestling, but there definitely won't be any stalling. Well, Owen likes to wrestle. All the guys in London now are really working on their wrestling a lot. So
that's true.
But yeah, I imagine Gianni would probably sit down pretty quickly.
I think I've maybe only ever seen Gianni shoot one takedown in his life.
Yeah.
I've been following him for a long, long time. He's definitely the, very much a guard player. But I'm intrigued to see this one. I am a little bit nervous that it'll turn into sort of 15 minutes of footsies, because both guys just have that very sort of hyper-focused leg attacks and guard play. But they've got very different games, though, because Gianni's the bolo guy and Owen's he's a leg hunter. It's very difficult to tap Gianni. I don't think I've ever seen him tap to a leg lock. But I think that there's a chance that Gianni could come up and try and pass, actually. I think that, in a match like this, I actually see Gianni possibly putting some top game on.
In my head, I'm pretty sure I've seen Gianni applying a bit of top pressure in his matches. Yeah. And he's very relentless. Both of them are just cardio machines. And Owen is just a really exciting grappler. Like, he's fun on and off the mat. And I'm all for it. Like, I feel like we need more people like Owen. Yeah. They're not
and
afraid of
so he's going to be bringing some friends.
Definitely. No, it'd be a good atmosphere. Yeah. He likes to talk shit, but his jiu-jitsu is very, very good as well. So that should be really good. And that's a title fight as well. So
Really? Oh, what weight division is that?
Featherweight. It's a vacant title I believe, as hopefully everyone knows, my memory is like a sieve, but I'm pretty sure Ash
You've mentioned
Williams.
it once or twice.
I'm pretty sure Ash Williams had it and vacated it. It means something. And Owen is a great example of someone that kind of grew up with Polaris. You know, he was on as a blue belt prelims and then has just made more and more appearances and got a bigger and bigger profile. So if he ends up with the title, that's a really cool story. Same goes for Gianni, though, because he was at Polaris 2, I believe, or 3.
He was.
No, 2.
No, 2. 2. Yeah.
Yeah. He heel hooked Tom Barlow.
He did. So 34 events later, he's back and he's in a title match. That's pretty cool.
Fuck.
I actually,
cool.
You mentioned about the cardio as well, and I do feel like both these guys, you're right, that the 3-5 minutes is actually perfect for them because they can really go hard for those 5 minutes rather than have to play that strategic, 10, 15 minute pacing. That could really kill this match. But I feel like the short rounds help. And you just mentioned something as well that made me think about how Owen has been competing on Polaris since he was a blue belt. It is wild to me that Owen only got his black belt like a couple of weeks ago. Like in my mind, he's been a black belt for like the last 2 years, but I guess he just never got
when I
promoted.
saw that, I was like, what? Well, it just shows even more that no-gi is almost like its own sport at this point. Like the belts are almost irrelevant, isn't it?
Yeah. ADCC trials winner, ADCC veteran, veteran of many big events, and he just gets his black belt a couple of years after.
Yeah, that made me giggle as well. That made me giggle. Do you remember do you remember remember Tarek was like the eternal brown belt, and Craig was taking the piss out of him for it?
Yeah, I feel like Teta, Eduardo Rios, Tarek's coach, I feel like he was punishing him for something. He was like a brown belt for like 7 years or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I think Craig and Tarek, they ended up on the same mat at like Polaris 24 or something. And for a few days, Craig was just like harassing him.